Hello there! This is my math strategy poster, and I will be using the concrete, representational, and let's see if I can go down, abstract to teach a lesson on binomials. So on the top we have our learning target, which is I can write factored binomials in standard form. So our first step is going to be the concrete. So when you're teaching this concept, you're going to have either math manipulatives, or in this case we have post-it notes that have been set up to represent x squared, x, and then individual units. And so the teacher would start out by modeling this for the students by building different binomials, like the example here where we have x plus 1 times x plus 2. So we would model for the students. Step 1, write the factors along the side and the top. So we would write x plus 1, and we would write x plus 2. Then we would take our math manipulatives from the bottom, and we would place those in the right spots. So we would have our square post-it for x squared, and then we would have our strip for x over here because it says 2. X times 2 is going to be 2x. So we're going to have 2 of those strips. And then we would have just those 2 units there on the bottom that we would just be placing on there. We wouldn't be drawing them like I just did, because this is our concrete stage. So the teacher would model that on the smartboard or the whiteboard at the front of the room, and then the teacher would be able to write up another problem, a very, very similar problem, like x plus 3 times x plus 2, and all the students would have their own personal whiteboards and manipulatives, and they would be able to build that, and then when the teacher said hold it up, they'd be able to hold it up. So we would have that little formative assessment there to check and see if the students have understood. After we've built it, we have step 3 where we write it in standard form. So we say, okay, how many x squareds do we have? Oh, we have 1. Plus, how many x's do we have? Oh, we have 3. And how many units do we have? We have 2. So there we go. Now we have it in standard form. We could also take these units and bring them down instead of writing it. We could just pull the post-its down so that we would have our x squared, and we could write plus, and then we could put our 2 units here, and then a plus, and then we would put those little units there before we even went to the abstract of writing that. All right, let me get rid of all my extra writing, and let's go down to representational. Basically, we're going to follow all the same steps for representational, except this time we are going to just draw it like I did. So, let's see if I can erase. After the students have caught on to the concrete using the manipulatives, then we can move on to drawing rather than building. So once again, we'd follow the same steps, but again, we'd be drawing it instead. So our students would start out by writing out the problem across the side and the top. And now instead of placing post-its, they're going to actually draw, just like I did last time. They're going to have flats and longs, and then the units. So now when we go to write in standard form, we can say, all right, how many x squareds do I have? I just have 1. How many x's do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And how many units do I have? I have 6. Once again, we can have students, after the teacher has modeled this, we can give opportunity for the students to answer these on their own with their whiteboard, and then when prompted, they could either do a partner share or hold up their whiteboards to show that they've gotten the answer. In this way, the teacher knows if the students have mastered it or not. And after the students have mastered writing in standard form with the representational form, then we can move on to the abstract. So with that one is a little bit different. We have 4 steps now instead of 3. So we're going to start out by drawing a 2 by 2 array. for our students. And then we're going to take this binomial, we're going to write 2x plus 1 across the side. And our second part here, we're going to write x plus 3. And now we can multiply into each one of the boxes in this array. So 2x times x is going to be 2x squared. 2x times 3 is going to be 6x. 1 times x is going to be x, and 1 times 3 is going to be 3. So that was step 3 right there. Now we can go on to step 4 and write this in standard form. So we're going to take each one of these parts and write it down. So we have our 2x squared is going to come first, and then we're going to add the x terms. So we have 1 here and we have 6 here, so that's 7x. And then we're going to add our last part, which is the individual units. So that is how we can learn to put factored binomials into standard form using a more visual approach, a more concrete approach. Whereas when we were kids, they taught us to just FOIL it, and we didn't really understand the process behind it. It was just something that we all did, where we did first, outside, inside, and last. We could still teach that to our students to see if that's a way that they would prefer to do it. But for a lot of our special education students especially, using this visual model will help them to learn more effectively and understand what they're doing. So there's several different of the learning things that we talked about in the past 2 weeks that were involved in this lesson. Of course, we have the concrete, representational, and abstract. We also have the explicit instruction, where we're giving specific steps for the students to follow so that they just know exactly what to do every time that they're doing a problem. Of course, this involves visuals, and it involves formative assessment so that the teachers know what's going on. They're able to go and give feedback to the students as they're going, rather than waiting until a test or until they're done with an entire worksheet to find out they were doing it wrong. So that is what I have to say. Thank you so much.